my lords, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to Railway Empire as we start making our way through the various scenarios in this game with a view to getting as high a rating as possible on these scenarios. Ideally we want to get a full bank of golden check marks and a rating overall of President. I'm not concerned about not getting the full, I think it's 30 out of 30 or 40 out of 40, whatever the maximum score is. As long as we get those gold check marks and we get the President rating, I'm happy enough. Now the reason I say that is because I'm going to have the pause mode set to manual for these scenarios, so it's easier for recording purposes. We can talk through what we're doing, what the plans are, so on and so forth. So where are we going to make our start? Well, I'm going to go into the north. There's only one scenario in the north. We're set in 1850 and the scenario is Cattle Drive. As the name indicates, this is all about the production of cattle and meat and getting that meat shipped into Omaha for onward distribution to the to the east coast. So let's jump on into this scenario here. So AI level I'm going to set to very hard, and as I said, the pause mode I'm going to set it to manual. So we will have a score penalty for that, but we'll have a score multiplier, a positive multiplier for the AI level. So for our character, for most of the scenarios, unless the scenario calls for something a little bit different, we will be going with the engineer. The early reduction, or it's not just an early reduction, but the reduction in the early game to your locomotive engine costs is a huge boon, and it can really get you up and running nice and quickly. Free maintenance is always good, of course. The fewer breakdowns we have, the more productive we are going to be. This is a negative, of course. Upgrading businesses costs 70% more. However, when we get to the point where we're needing to upgrade our businesses, we should be making enough money that this becomes largely irrelevant. Yeah, we might have to wait a little bit longer to upgrade, but it shouldn't be make or break for the game. And we can offset this with various technologies anyway, so I'm not too concerned by that. So we are Andrew, our company is AP Railways, and let's jump straight in. Now this scenario, it might cover 2 or 3 episodes. Otherwise, some of these scenarios, the episodes could be about 3 hours long, especially the later scenarios. They do take a couple of hours to complete. This one, I think we can get done in about an hour, so that probably lends itself to 2 episodes. But yeah, let's crack on. So we start in Sioux Falls. That's our capital, our home city. Here's our task list. By 1851, we want to deliver 40 loads of cattle to Sioux Falls. By 1852, we want to produce 100 loads of meat. By 1853, we want to deliver 60 loads of meat into Omaha. 1855, we have to connect 4 businesses producing cattle to the network. 1856, we have to produce 100 loads of cattle. 1857, 1,000 loads of meat to Omaha. 1860, we have to buy 30% of Beatrix's company. 1869, we have to completely buy out Beatrix's company. And then for our optional tasks, 1852, we have to connect 400,000 people to the network. And 1854, we have to be producing 20 loads of meat per week. Now, many of you will know this. If you want to get the golden check mark for the tasks, you have to do it in half of the allotted time. So, for example, this one here, because we've got until the end of 1851, we start in 1850. We want to get this done by the end of 1850. This one, we want to get it done midway through 1851. Likewise, this one. And if you want to get the golden check mark on this one, this is one you really need to push into hard in the early game. The rest of them, you've got plenty of time, so you can play catch up, but you really want to be putting your focus into this one here and these here. The rest just fall into line in my experience, and you're not really under any major time constraints for the others. So let's make a start then. So bearing in mind we want to connect 400,000 people to our network by the midpoint of 1851. So what we're going to do is we're going to do rapid expansion throughout the cities. So we're going to link up from Pierre to Sioux Falls. All of our stations, given that the maintenance buildings are free for the engineer, we will go ahead and include those. And what we're going to do when we set this line up, when we give the train their orders, we're going to make sure that they are not taking meat from Sioux Falls. Any meat that we produce here in Sioux Falls, we want to get it down here into Omaha. That's where the meat's needed. So we don't want to be subtracting away by dumping it into Pierre. I mean, we can get meat into Pierre from another town. We have Rapid City here, which also has meat. So we can grow these two mutually, no problem. Pierre, if you want to take your beer into Sioux Falls, that's absolutely fine. But yes, the meat, we want to reserve that for Omaha and no other destination. So we'll double track our first line. We will include our signals, of course, and a supply tower at roughly the halfway point, so around about there. And then we're going to set up our line. And as I said, at Sioux Falls, we do not want you taking meat. So we'll have 2 trains designated starting in Sioux Falls, and then we'll repeat it in reverse and have 2 trains designated starting in Pierre. And again, making sure when we get into Sioux Falls, we are not picking up that meat. We need that for Omaha. And there we go. So the next place we're going to run into is, of course, Omaha itself. So we want another station just there. And again, we'll include the maintenance building because it is free. And let's put our station over here, like so. And we want to connect these two together, like that. Let's just reduce that bridge length there to save on costs. And also we do not want a tunnel. Let's go for, 10% is fine. 168,000, we can afford that. So again, we're going to double track this into Sioux Falls. We're going to put in our signals and a supply tower. And we're going to set up this line. Now what we're going to do here is at Sioux Falls, we want to make sure they prioritize taking the meat with them into Omaha. And we're going to have 4 trains, and all 4 of these are going to start out from Sioux Falls. Okay, fantastic. So that'll, over time, start working towards this goal here. Sorry, this goal here and this one here. This one will need a couple more inputs to boost the numbers and get it done a little bit quickly, but that's fine. That's all for the future. What we need to do is start working on getting cattle into Sioux Falls. Not only do we have that starting task of shipping 40 loads of cattle to Sioux Falls by the end of 1851, I believe, we also want to make sure that Sioux Falls has a good supply of cattle, so that industry that is in Sioux Falls is as supplied and topped up as possible. That way we can keep shipping it at a fast rate into the city of Omaha. So we're going to, in fact, what we'll do, we may as well come parallel here, like this. And then we want to branch off because we're going to expand our station size here. So we have a second available platform. So we can't afford that as it stands, so we will need to issue our first bond early doors. We'll see if we can get away with the one. I don't know. We are going to need both of them to pay for the return leg of this track, but that's okay. We have saved ourselves a little bit of money here though, because we're utilizing the existing supply tower that is on the line between Pierre and Sioux Falls. So that's a little bit of a saving right there. Yep, we need to issue another bond for this, which is absolutely fine. So let's pay for that. We want to run our signals down. And we want to make sure we have signals after that supply tower as well, which we now do. We probably want to go ahead and have a second supply tower on this line. I will put it just on that corner right there. And then we're going to set up this delivery line into Sioux Falls. So you're taking a full load at all times, please. So there we go, that's 8. And we're going to have 8, 16, 24, 32. And we don't have enough money for any further expansion, so we may as well spend that money on yet another train there. And now we can start the game. So let's increase to higher speed. So that one will be ticked off as soon as all of those trains make it into Sioux Falls, which is going to be well in advance of the end of 1850. So we've guaranteed ourselves the golden check mark right here. We need to now start working towards this one and this one. So obviously we are going to have to purchase a meat industry to make a start on that one. We have a surveyor available. 5% reduction in track costs. We shall accept that. That's quite handy. Kitty's getting in the way. We also have a connection bonus available for the town of Bismarck, which we will utilize and take advantage of as soon as we have money to pay for that. So we'll put a station down. We're not going to have any trains running to Bismarck, so we don't care if it has a maintenance shed or not. We just want to activate the town so we get that connection bonus. We are, however, going to keep the station because that will add towards this goal right here of connecting 400,000. We're just under-ish 1/4 of the way there. So we need to continue our expansion efforts, and the next thing we're going to do is expand between Pierre and Rapid City. So we'll put a second station in the town of Pierre. We'll put a station in Rapid City. Both of these, they will be having themselves a maintenance building. After all, that's a big bonus for the engineer, so you'd be foolish to ignore that freebie. And we'll run this line in, and then we'll make any fine-tune adjustments that may be needed to cut down on costs. Let's have a look. So we're pretty flat here, which is nice. We have a small bridge over the river, which we cannot avoid, and that's not a bad price for that length of track. So what we'll do is just wait for the money to build up, and then we shall pay for that track. Following this rapid expansion city to city to city to city strategy, what you will find is you get a snowball effect in your finances pretty quickly. The more cities you connect, the more money you have coming in, the more you can pay for more city connections and more lines and so on and so forth. And in the end, you have a real powerhouse of an economy that can pay for pretty much anything you will ever need to get the scenario completed. So for now, we are just waiting for the money to accumulate for the second stretch of track between Pierre and Rapid City. Shouldn't take us too long to get that. It's 101,000. We're about halfway, well, we're over halfway there. Obviously barring any reductions due to interest for our bonds and maintenance and such like, but we're going to be okay. Okay, now we can pay for the double tracking between Pierre and Rapid City. We'll put down the signals, let some money generate up so we can get a supply tower, although in fact it's probably better and wiser if we start out with a locomotive, because that can be earning us the money we need in the background. And again, we're going to go for 2 from each city as their starting point. As we can see, we are bringing meat from Rapid City into Pierre, so that's going to encourage some city growth there. We have the dragon available, but we don't have enough money to actually purchase it, unfortunately, and we're not going to get enough by the time the auction ends. Okay, so now we can have the 4th train on this line. Apologies if you can hear the kitties mucking about with the Christmas tree in the background. That's what kitties like to do, of course, when they're young, and they love to climb the Christmas tree, so a lot of that at the moment. But yes, there's our next city connection. That's going to be making us money in the background. Next, we're going to go from, should we go, where do you want to go? To Miles City, or do we want to come down into Casper or into Cheyenne? It doesn't really matter, really. What do we have? Well, I think Cheyenne or Miles City would be the best bets because they both produce beer. Rapid City has a meat industry, so they have that mutually beneficial line potential between them. So we'll go for either Miles City or Cheyenne. And I think we will opt to go into Cheyenne because I think it's a little bit closer. And we don't have a mountain to contend with as we do on the way to Miles City. So as we can see, that's our first objective now completed. That's the shipping of the cattle, so that's now done. So what we're going to do now is, as I said, we're going to connect down into the city of Cheyenne just for improved economy. That's going to cost us 134,000 to do that. Just going to wait to get 200 research points and then we are going to unlock the dragon. We'll just automatically assign all available train staff that are there. Will give us a little bonus. It won't make or break, but every little does help. Now, do you want to continue the expansion, or are we better served making sure we can purchase this industry? Now, the price is quite low at the minute because the utilization is dropping. So if we can get it before the utilization increases back to 100%, we should get a bit of a bargain here. Let's see, how much are you at the minute? Right, hopefully we do not get into a bidding war. We do not want a bidding war because our economy couldn't handle it at the moment. I think we're going to get away with it. So this is just luck more than anything, I think. But yep, there we go. So that's the meat industry purchase, which is going to start us ticking towards this goal here. So that's fine. Now we can continue on with our expansion now that that's done. We might need to upgrade that industry sooner rather than later just to really pump out those numbers, but we can do that. Right, so 142,000 to connect Rapid City into Cheyenne. That's absolutely fine. At this point as well, we also have the choice of upgrading to the Dragon, which I think we will do prior to setting up that new line. It's going to cost us just over, well, around about 110,000 to do this, which we should get to pretty quickly. These trains are faster and more powerful, so they're going to get in between their cities a little bit faster, which is going to help our economy, of course. As you see, we've produced our first loads of meat, and we've got roughly 12 months in which to get that 100 target, which I think we should be okay with. How are we doing over at Reed Fattening? Could we justify yet another train on that line? I'm going to say another 2. The more cattle we have flying through into Sioux Falls, the better. We're also close to be able to pay for the line into Cheyenne, which is going to get us some more money bankrolling in the background. Okay, there we go. And what I'm going to do is, while waiting for the money to double track it, we're just going to set up a single train between the two cities just to start chipping away and adding to our static, or sorry, our background income. It's not static income, it's background income. And then we'll lay the double tracks down. That way we know how much we're going to have to be paying for this. I'm going to guess about 130 or 140, not too bad. Again, just get the stoker and stick him on an automatic train. I sometimes bother with staff, I sometimes don't. I'm going to this time, just because you can just do it automatically. You do get the occasional train conflict or staff conflict which causes breakdowns, but they tend to be rather few and far between, and you are able to quickly rectify those issues as they appear. So now we can double track that run between those two cities. We can put down our signals. Where is our locomotive so we don't get it boxed in yet? It's in Cheyenne, so we can put the signals on any line. It doesn't matter which direction. And we'll put them on the opposite side of the supply tower as well. And now we can go ahead and duplicate that train a couple of times. So we'll have another one originating from Rapid City, and then we'll have 2 going from Cheyenne to Rapid City, like so. Research, let's get that for the increased passengers. That's going to help our income grow in the background. Next, where do we want to go to? I think we'll go into the town of Casper. It's just around the corner, proverbially. So let's do that. So again, as I've said before, this is serving two purposes. Not only is it building us towards our goal of having 400,000 people connected to our network, but it's also helping us accumulate money in the background as the trains do their thing, basically. How we look in there? That's a decent enough line. We can't double track it yet, so again what we'll do is we'll set up a train first of all, just the one, and have it running. And in the meantime now we'll start building the line, see how much it's going to cost us, and then obviously wait until we have the money to pay for that. 92,000. Let's go ahead and again auto hire those. Nobody in there that I'm that interested in. There we go. So there's the double tracks laid down. Where is the train? I thought I'd seen it depart. Oh no, it's just arrived in Cheyenne. So again, we can put these on any side. It doesn't matter. And we want a supply tower. But first, we'll just duplicate that train and then get the counterparts that originate from Cheyenne running as well. 1 and 2. We have an analyst. I don't think we're in a position yet to start playing the stock market, so we shall ignore that. Let's go ahead and put that supply tower in before they start running out of lubricant and sand. And now we can think about, well, do we want to think about upgrading the size of this industry? It's going to cost us a lot because we are the engineer, but it's fine. Let's just see, could we do anything with the bond market yet? No. Sometimes you can, if you've outgrown the company value pretty quick, you can get a third bond quite early. We're not quite there yet, unfortunately, but we're not doing too bad. We've just unlocked creative accounting there, so we get extra income from our industry, which of course we own. That is, of course, the meat factory in Cheyenne, in Sioux Falls. Let's see, can we recycle our bonds? We should be close. I think we can. Yes, we can. So yeah, we can almost double the amount that we're able to issue in bonds. And using that income, we can then upgrade this industry. How much will it cost to do the next one? Just over $1 million, which is very expensive, and that's obviously the price you pay for being the engineer. However, like I said, you do offset that via the rapid expansion in the income you get early between your cities. So it's not too much of a hindrance. You can live with it. Right. So next city then, we've done Casper. Let's now head to, where do we want to go? We could go up to Miles City or over to Rock Springs. And I think we'll go Rock Springs next. So we'll put a station there and a station there. Let's just pause it. Don't want to waste any time. Now, obviously, being able to pause it does help you out in terms of your timed goals, because you can pause it while you're setting things up. You're setting your lines up and your trains and checking your industries and what have you. Obviously, when you're playing on normal pause mode, you don't have that option. Which is why I'd rather pay the small score penalty at the end and have the ability to pause it. There we go, 93,000 for that. And let's get the supply tower between those two. So this is a meet-to-meet city, so what we're going to set up here is just a passenger and mail line only. There we go. And we'll have 2, and then we'll have another 2 going in that direction. And now we can think about where we want to expand to next. We could go down to Grand Junction, or what I'm leaning towards is expanding the station Rapid City and heading up to Miles City next. So we'll put the station there ready. We need 60,000 to expand our station over here, which we've just ticked over. So let's expand that. Let's see how much this would cost us. We are going to have to fine-tune this because it's ploughed a tunnel straight underneath that mountain, which is what we want to avoid. Let's just see if we can get rid of some of them earthworks without having too much of an incline penalty. Yeah, they're not bad. They're pretty good. We don't want that bridge there, though. 121,000. Shouldn't take us long to get there. We have museum trains available for auction. When selling locomotives, depreciation is reduced by 25%. That's always handy, especially with the engineer, where you already pay a reduced price for your locos anyway. So when you're swapping them out, you pay even less. We can afford a bit of a bidding war on this, so we'll go ahead. That's that task taken care of. We're up to 60, well, we'll call it 64 on this one. So over halfway there, and we still got to the middle of 1851 to achieve that. This one, we're halfway there, and again, middle of 1851 to achieve the gold tick mark there. So I think we're in good shape on both of those. Right, let's pay for that track. I'd completely forgotten all about that, so that was wasted time right there. That wasn't very efficient of me. That's gone all sorts of weird. 118,000 for the return. Not too bad. We got the museum train auction wrapped up there, which is nice. Obviously, that only takes effect when you're swapping your locos, not purchasing new ones outright, so bear that in mind. So we get a supply tower. What do we have in Mile City? Beer and meat, so these can have an automatic line. And we'll have 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 over here as well, like that. Now let's pause it and take stock. Do we want to go to Billings next? I guess the answer to that question is a resounding yes. So we'll put our station in Billings. We'll put our second station in Mile City when we can afford it, which is right now. Just rotate that so it's back to back. Put in the maintenance shed, lay in the track. Do we have our maintenance building over here? No, we do not, so we need to put one of those. How much is that going to cost us? 100,000. We can get that price down, I think, quite easily. There we go, 83,000, a lot more reasonable. We have a reporter, which we don't really care about, so we can just disregard him. Okay, there is that line. Let's go ahead and get the train running singularly to start with, just to get us that little bit of extra income while we wait to pay for the second stretch of track. Increasing passenger numbers is always good for all these lines that we're setting up, so we'll take that research right there. And then next we want to probably go for the Rensselaer once we have unlocked enough prerequisite text. Jesus, that was a mouthful. Well, it wasn't. I was just being an idiot. Yeah, once we've got the text we need, I think we need to unlock 3. I think we've got 1 at the moment. Anyway, now we can duplicate this train, but first of all, we're going to set one up from Billings to Miles City and have them start on their way like that, and then we shall duplicate the Miles City to Billings train like that. So that's yet another city connected. How are we doing? 250,000-ish out of 400,000, so not too bad. That one, we're almost there. It shouldn't take us too much longer to get that. So where do we want to go to next? Well, I think we're going to go down to Grand Junction for yet another connection. So to get that 400,000 people goal ticked off, you pretty much have to connect every city on the map, because none of the cities are what you would call big cities. I think Denver is probably the largest, or Sioux Falls at the start. So yeah, you really want to get into as many cities as you can. We still have 2, 4, 6 down here, and we have Fargo up in the northeast to connect to as well. 91,000 for this line then, between Rock Springs and Grand Junction. Although that's sharing a platform there, and we probably don't want to do that. So we need another station, so that's an extra 40,000 we're going to have to pay out, which is fine. We can do that. And let's just move you on to that new station there. 90,000. Do we have our maintenance building down here? Yes, we do. Let's pay for that. And again, let's first of all get the train up and running before we duplicate or double track the run. 16,000, okay, there we go. Now we can't duplicate the trains yet because of course we're on single track, so we need to double track at this point. Now you could get away with just doing passing loops on all of these, of course, which would be a lot cheaper. However, I just go for the double track for the extra little bit of cost, because you don't have to worry about your trains waiting in passing loops to get past one another. They're free to do what they want to do. Right, where's our train gone? Oh, he's just been reset because he was on the wrong side of the track, so that's fine. So let's duplicate that one, pause it, and then let's set up a line from Grand Junction to Rock Springs with 2. We also want a supply tower somewhere along the way, so we'll put one roughly halfway. There we go. So the next city we want to go to is Denver, which is going to be difficult because Beatrix has laid her tracks straight across our path. We could come at it all the way around here, but that is a little bit silly. Instead, we'll just pay for the cost of a bridge into Denver. So let's go ahead and get our maintenance building on that station. We want to expand our station in Cheyenne. Alright, let's see how we're going to tackle this. You're giving us a bridge, which is fine. Let's see if we can shorten that bridge somewhat to save on money. Bearing in mind, of course, the gradient on the bridge. But I'm more concerned about the cost, and I think that's as good as we're going to get it. And you know what? 94,000 for that is not bad at all. So that's got us into Denver, which should be a big chunk of the target now taken away. Yep, just 110,000 give or take to connect to, which these remaining cities down here should see us over the line. So 64,000 is a cost to double track it, which we can afford. Let's put down some signals and let's start a line between the two. 1, 2, and then in reverse with 2.
A large amount of the meat has been
let's put a supply tower down. So that's the, let's just pause it here. That's that one ticked off before the midpoint of 1851, so we've got the gold check mark there. So now we really are just focusing on getting this one, which now that we don't have to worry about paying to expand our industry and paying the increased costs that the engineer suffers, I think we're going to be okay from here on out, basically. So where do we want to head into next? Do we want to come down from Omaha into the town of Wichita, and then we can go down to Oklahoma City? The reason I'm suggesting that is because to get out of our station in Denver, we're going to have another bridge. Raton, you have 17,000 people, 10,000 in Santa Fe. There's nothing else down here. Amarillo, 26,000, so that's a city we want to be aiming for because the higher population there. Yeah, if we can get down to Amarillo, yeah, I think what we'll do, we will go for the extra cost. We'll go from Denver to Raton, and then we'll have a station into Santa Fe and another track from Raton into Amarillo, and then from Amarillo we can spread out to Oklahoma City and to Dodge City, and I think at that point we should have tipped over the 400,000. Bearing in mind a lot of these towns that we've connected to already will be giving each other a little bit of mutual growth because there's a lot of beer to meat cities that we've set up. Okay, what's the best way to do this then? I think we're going to struggle to get that bridge any shorter just because of the distance we have there. We can get that bridge a lot shorter though, which we of course will do. Let's see, can we do anything with that bridge? Oh, we can get it shorter. There's 20%. Can't do... Oh yes, we can. So it's going to be a steep climb onto the bridge for the trains, but that's fine. Yeah, 142,000 is not too bad. Back to the research screen. Yeah, let's get the caboose, because then that's 3 out of 3 unlocked, so we can get the Rensselaer or even the Tyson 10-wheeler next, if we save up. Pay for that track into Raton. I believe it's pronounced Ratone. I don't think it's Ratton. I'm going to stick with Ratone. I might be wrong. 104,000 double track that, which is not too bad. We're there already. Signal work, of course. Straightforward enough. And then we want supply tower. And then we want the locomotives running down there. So there's the supply tower done. Now we can set up the actual trains. So Denver into Ratone with 2. And then Ratone into Denver with another 2. Now we can't afford the second one there, but now we can. So that's that done. Now we want another station in Ratone and one in Santa Fe. And then after that we want to head into Amarillo. Can't afford that station there. Let's just get a bit of money. There we go. Just spin that station around so it's the same direction, if you will, as the one in Ratone. How much are you going to cost me? Well, I'll come at you a lot cheaper than that by doing that. Get rid of that bridge. We certainly don't want that. 8%. Yep, that's a fine gradient. 51,000. Nice and cheap as far as tracks go. So now we're just double tracking that new stretch of track. 51,000. We'll get there in no time at all. He says hopefully. There we go. 51,000. Get your signals on. There's the supply tower. Just there. And now we can get some money and get some trains running. Let's get to about 50,000, shall we? There we go. So Ratone to Santa Fe. This is beer to beer, so we'll set this as passenger and mail only. There's no mutual growth available there. And let's do that as well. Passenger and mail only. And then we'll duplicate one of them. We can only afford to duplicate one, so this one will have to be duplicated in a few moments. There we go. Okay, so next we want to head to Amarillo. Let's just have a look at how we stand. We're in May of 1851, and we need another 75,000. Okay, that's going to be doable, I should think. Our lines that we've set up already are chipping away in the background in terms of making us money, so we're not having to hang around too long to get these new lines set up, which is fantastic. I'm just going to hug this river here to avoid climbing up onto this little mesa, I believe that would be. Yeah, hug the river, round into Ratone. 130,000, but we also need to pay to, well, first of all we need that, and we need to expand the station size as well. So we have a spare platform. 135 is the goal here. Let's have a look. 328. Right, there's the money for that. Now we need to double track. It's going to be roughly the same cost as it was on the way out. So what's that? 133. There we go. There's the money for that. And as you see what I mean, we're not really waiting around any great length of time to pay for these new tracks or the new locos, supply towers, stations, whatever it may be. So let's again get to about 50 or 60,000, then we can get the 4 trains we want between these two cities. So these will be automatic because they have that meat and beer connection. So there's 2 from Ratone. Let's just unpause it because we'll not be able to pay for 2 from Amarillo as it stands, but now we can. Fantastic. Sioux Falls is growing. Not really concerned about that yet. And how are we doing now? We need another 30,000. And we've got a couple of months in which to do that, which shouldn't be a problem. If we go Oklahoma City, which I think we are going to have to get all 3 of these cities here. We also have Fargo up in the far north, 13,000. We might need to incorporate that city as well, which is fine. We do have North Platte, actually, which I haven't connected into yet, and that's quite a large city. Let's go for North Platte, and we'll have a line into Rapid City from there. Completely overlooked that city, and it's a fairly large one as far as this map goes anyway, especially in the early phases, so that's a worthwhile connection right there. And this is a meat producing city going into yet another meat producing city, unfortunately. So this will be a passenger and mail line. We want to expand the station here for this spare platform. 116,000 should not take us too long to get to that magic number. And there we go. What's that done for us now? Another 20,000 we need. Okie dokie. And that's just, well, that's just 2 cities, isn't it? 20,000. We should get that fairly comfortably now. 111 to duplicate the track. There we go. That's the money for that. Put down the signals. And we want 30,000 for a supply tower. And then we'll look at putting the locomotives on the line. There we go. There's the 42, so that's more than enough. There's the supply tower. And now we can start setting up these. And as I said, this will be a passenger and mail line because they're both meat producing cities. There's 2. And then we want 2 this way. That should have been passenger and mail. There we go. 1 and 2. We'll take the engineer. 200,000 then. So what do we have? Oh, we have a connection bonus here for 220,000, which is well worth the small outlay it's going to cost us to actually connect that and get that bonus. Plus, of course, one of the other tasks is to connect to all of the cattle producing industries on the map, so we would have to do that eventually at some point. Okay, so next, where shall we head to? So we can't really go anywhere from North Platte, but we can get another station in Amarillo and connect into, well, how many do we need to connect to now? We'll call that 15,000. How many is in Oklahoma City? 12. Dodge City is 13. Wichita is 16. We could just go straight into Wichita. It's going to be, it might be. In fact, how expensive would that be? Let's get the station first of all in Amarillo. Let's just run a track up towards Wichita. Of course, we will just adjust it to cut down on costs where possible. We don't want to go through the Indian reservation there. That's going to cost us unnecessarily. Let's just sort this little stretch of track out here. That gave us a tunnel which we don't want. 228,000. Yep, we'll do that because I think as soon as we connect this in, that goal will be done, even if we don't have any trains running on this line yet. Let's see. There we go. So what we are going to do now is actually just delete that because we're not going to have anything running on it and we can spend the money elsewhere. So that's the first 3 set of tasks ticked off and our first optional task ticked off as well. Connect 4 businesses producing cattle. We already have 2 produce some cattle, so we do need to buy a cattle industry sooner rather than later. And how much would it cost to buy you? I don't think Beatrix is going to bid on this, so we'll go for that one. Because what we're going to do eventually is purchase the industry. Oh, we can also get that one as well, so yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, we want to purchase the industry in Wichita, demolish it and put a meat factory there. Okay, there we go. So now we have 2 industries producing cattle. One was offered to us. This is this one here in Campbell Breeding. And one we purchased outright in an auction without a bidding war, which is great. Let's get rid of that station. And we also want to just redo that a little bit. Okay, so I'm not going to record this in one sitting. We are going to save it here. This is part 1, the early expansion and the early growth. We've got perfect scores so far. Next, we want to get this meat being produced. So we do have a meat producing industry already, as we know, over here in Sioux Falls. We can't afford to upgrade it at this point, but we do need to think about upgrading our meat industry and perhaps purchasing a few others as well, because this is the next time critical one we have, producing 20 loads of meat per week. This one, that's nice and easy. We can get the next 2 of them fairly straightforward, and we're going to be utilizing them as well. and then this one falls into line following the other, because we just purchased 2 of them anyway. So yeah, we can get them beefed up, pardon the pun, producing more cattle. So yeah, that's what we're going to do in the next episode. Then in part 2, focus on getting this meat produced. We're going to look to grow the cities of Wichita and Amarillo, because we have a meat industry in Amarillo already. We'd like to purchase that if we can, so that's one thing we're going to try and do. We also want to put one in here, and if we can grow these cities, then obviously we can expand the industry sizes. They can produce more meat, and then we'll have a line from Wichita into Omaha. We'll have a line from Amarillo into Omaha, both of which will be focused on taking in the meat, and that'll take us towards this goal much, much faster. We're already 10% of the way there, as we can see. But for now, yeah, we'll save it here, and we'll pick this up in part 2, so I look forward to seeing you then. But for now, all that remains for me to say is, as always, ladies and gentlemen, take very good care of yourselves. It's ta-ta for now.